or should I say good night, from the day 4 of the X-Pyr 2022. I apologise for the lateness of my update, but it's been a long and busy day, and depending on where you are on the coastline and what weather you encountered, you had a more difficult or easy day. I'm going to try and bring you some news from the teams that we've gathered today, and also a little bit of an update of what's happening at the moment. So first, a bit of bad news. Unfortunately, Lino Colo from Italy has had to withdraw from the race. Probably a fatigue injury, certainly not an accident, I'm not entirely sure, but he's withdrawn from the race. So, news from the teams. Something that I didn't manage to bring you this morning was that Tomas Matera from Czechia was actually, when he flew over the border yesterday, was detained by the local police. They wanted to confirm that his crossing of the border was quite legitimate, so they phoned the Guardia Civil, which is like one of the national police services of Spain. So he had to actually sit there and wait for half an hour whilst the Guardia Civil came and said, "Oh yeah, that's fine," and let him go again. So unfortunately he lost some time due to that. It all ended well in the end, so that's great. News from Simon Oberrauner. Yesterday they had a really good day. They said it was really challenging, but Simon flew for 8 hours and did about 170 kilometres, and he managed to pass 2 turn points. Today they managed to get past turn point 5 and on to turn point 6, in the direction of turn point 6. He had to struggle this afternoon with strong southwesterly winds, and it was a matter of assessing the risk versus reward ratio. But their motivation's still high, and they're confident that they will be able to reach the Mediterranean by Saturday evening. Chevy Bonnet's team reported that Chevy starts at 7 and he finishes at 9, and his team says he's a machine. Yesterday he hiked up the opposite hill from Kriegel and Noe and Simon and Maxim. And he flew, but had to do a top landing and then hiked up a little bit more, and he managed to fly Peñamontanesa, Costa de Sos, into the Val d'Aran and on, and he flew for 7 hours and did 140 kilometres. So today he did some small flights before hooking up with Timalongi and Tanguy Renault Gold. Cloud base apparently was very low this morning from where they were, only about 1,300 metres. So they made the most of the morning, hopping along. A lot of tree-covered terrain, very few launch sites, and even fewer landing places to top land or slope land. But as of this moment, Chevy is in 7th place, so the day obviously went pretty well for him. Tibor Fogley today got himself into a good position to get to turn point 4. But unfortunately, during the flight, heading up there, Tibor broke a line, centre B line, and so he had to land to check the glider over to make sure that it was just the line and not actually anything internal. So he had to hook up with his team to get the line fixed, and so that took some time, and this evening he was heading to the border for a possible evening flight to just try and make a little bit more progress to make up for that setback. Mikolaj Kokot yesterday had his first flight was really smooth, but then he had to wait, had to come down in cloud, and yesterday he managed to have 2 flights. The last one he tried to get to a takeoff, but he was just too late, so he had to land before 9 p.m. and overall he flew for an hour and a quarter and managed only to do 17 kilometres, which is a reflection of what the day was like yesterday if you were at the back, still before the border with Spain. Greg Hamilton says he's not a runner. For him, this is not a running race. If he's not in the air, he's going to be slower. So he chose lots of mountain paths and tried to get to fly. Those plans didn't pay off. He hoped to fly to turn point 2 yesterday, but actually only flew to it today. He's hoping to get to the border this evening, and then tomorrow make progress to Jaca, join the aerial motorway that goes west-east, and get to Ainsa and Peña Montanesa, and then take it from there depending on the weather. He's hoping to stay south of the thunderstorms that will possibly, apparently, maybe, form in the High Pyrenees. So we'll see how that goes. Patrick Zeba made it to the pass yesterday, the border, and was rewarded with a good flight. And he landed at 8:45, just in time to jog to the car, and just made it, with moments to spare. He flew briefly this morning, but he found basically phone conditions, and to him safety is always the highest concern, and so he decided to walk rather than fly. And news from right at the back, Johannes Helland from Norway said that in the first few days they made some tricky decisions. They decided in the 2 rainy days to hike and fly, and they certainly managed to do the hiking, but none of the flying. So they have just made it past turn point 2 this evening and have just made it to the border with Spain, but they're all still in really good spirits and smiling. So today, what happened? Kriegel Maurer, Maxime Pinot, Pierre-Emile and Simon Oberrauner made it to turn point 5 and are heading to turn point 6. The day ended with Neucourt 7 kilometres from turn point 5, and also between turn point 4 and 5 are Tanguy Renaud-Good, Chevy Bonnet and Jody Villalta. There was decent progress made by pilots heading north from turn point 3 at Peña Montanesa. It certainly helped along by the southwest, or the southerly and southwesterly wind. So as the 9 p.m. compulsory stop ticked by, Thomas Matera, James Elliott, David Corpas, Fabian Umbricht were all between 1.7 and 6 kilometres short of turn point 4. Also on that leg we've got Andreas Wieberg, Cedar Wright, who looks to have had a good day, Tibor Fogley and Sergi Claret. All pilots are now past turn point 2 and are heading down the southern side of the course in small groups, and Kingdom Mastelis is leading that charge. So Kriegel Maurer, who's currently leading the race, is staying high in a mountain refuge. Now this was planned with his supporters in advance. We talked to them earlier and they said, oh no, we can't possibly meet you for an interview because we're staying in this mountain refuge, and we were kind of like, oh. But what happened is Ramon Krebs, who's his supporter, is not a paraglider pilot, he's an endurance athlete, and he packed up food, water, battery chargers, all the things that Kriegel would need, and hiked up to the mountain refuge, which is at 2,800 metres, and that's where Kriegel's going to stay tonight in order to get a good start tomorrow. Now, you will not see him on the live tracking because his live tracker doesn't have coverage there, but we've got him in his backup satellite tracking devices, Spotter and Reach, and we know where he is, and we can make sure that he doesn't leave that mountain refuge and that all the rules are obeyed. Now, on a note on live tracking, it's a source of great frustration to the people at home, but in the Pyrenees, the coverage for mobile signal, which is what our live trackers rely on, is not as good as in other places. This isn't the Alps. The Pyrenees are a different beast. So satellite trackers like Spot or InReach allow us, and every pilot, every athlete is obliged by the rules to not only carry our live tracking devices but also a backup satellite tracking device. So we can always track them. One way or the other, the organisation has the information. At home, the people watching don't necessarily, but that doesn't mean that something's happened to the pilot or that we don't know where they are. So please be patient with us. Please don't get too frustrated with the live tracking system. It's actually the mobile coverage in the Pyrenees. It's a pretty wild place. It's not as populated as other mountain ranges in Europe, but yeah, be assured, Kriegel's fine. He's up a mountain out, and we'll see what he can do tomorrow. Night night for now.